Hey guys, it's Deep and Frank, and today we're going to be talking about mustard algae, why it keeps coming back, and how to get rid of it. And if you've ever battled mustard algae, you already know why I call it one of the curses for swimming pool owners. You brush it away, you shock the pool, it disappears. You think you won, and then the little jerk comes back, sometimes in the exact same spot. So what makes mustard algae so difficult to kill? Is it really immune to chlorine? Why does it seem to love certain pools? And most importantly, how do you kill it and keep it from coming back? That's what we're going to cover. And here's the first thing you need to know. Mustard algae is not immune to chlorine. It is chlorine resistant, and that's a very important difference. Chlorine absolutely can kill mustard algae, but if all you do is throw some shock in the pool every time you see yellow, you may find yourself fighting the same battle over and over again. Because getting rid of mustard algae isn't just about killing what's on the wall today. You need to understand what makes your pool such a nice place for it to live, and then make the neighborhood as miserable as possible. We're going to talk about circulation, brushing, chlorine and CYA, phosphates, physical removal, and several different types of algicides, including the advantages and baggage that comes with each one. Because with mustard algae, sometimes the trick isn't just finding a bigger hammer, it's figuring out why you keep having to swing the hammer in the first place. So what exactly is mustard algae? Here's where swimming pool terminology gets a little messy. You'll sometimes hear mustard algae described as a diatom. Diatoms are fascinating microscopic algae with extremely tough silica-based outer structures called frustules. You've actually heard the word diatom before, even if you didn't realize it, as in diatomaceous earth. DE consists largely of the fossilized or non-decomposed remains of ancient diatoms. That's why DE has that incredibly fine porous structure that makes it such an effective filtration media. But I want to be careful here. Mustard algae is a pool industry description based largely on appearance and behavior, not a precise identification of one species. Not every organism a pool owner calls mustard algae has been scientifically identified as a diatom. So while the diatom connection helps explain some of the discussions surrounding yellow algae, silica, and chlorine resistance, I wouldn't assume every yellow patch in every swimming pool is literally a silica shelled diatom. What matters to the pool owner is much simpler. Mustard algae is considerably harder to eradicate than ordinary green algae. That's the fight we're trying to win. How did it get in my pool? Algae doesn't need an engraved invitation. Your swimming pool is sitting outside collecting material from the environment every day. Wind, rain, soil, dust, landscaping, animals, swimmers, equipment, toys, and runoff can all introduce biological material and nutrients into pool water, especially things that may track from natural bodies of water to your swimming pool, like ducks or swimsuits. Trying to figure out exactly where one particular algae organism came from usually isn't particularly useful. The better question is, was it able to establish itself? That's something we can actually do something about. Algae getting into a swimming pool isn't necessarily the failure. Allowing the pool to become an environment where algae can reproduce faster than we're killing it, that's the failure. And that's an important distinction. Make your pool a bad place to live. My philosophy with algae prevention is pretty simple. Figure out what helps it survive and then give it as little of that as reasonably possible. I want my swimming pools to be terrible algae neighborhoods. Bad food, bad housing, hostile environment, terrible schools, no reason whatsoever for algae to move in. Let's start with circulation. Mustard algae is notorious for establishing itself in protected and poorly circulated areas. So don't give it calm water if you can avoid it. Look for dead spots in your pool, behind steps, around benches, corners, along walls, behind ladders, areas that are shielded from return flow. Return placement and direction matter. Pump runtime matters. Flow matters. You can't create identical circulation everywhere in a swimming pool, but you can certainly improve it. And eliminating dead spots isn't just about mustard algae. Better circulation improves chemical distribution, filtration, and overall water quality. That's why circulation is very important in my 5 pillars of pool care. Brush your pool. This isn't complicated. Brush. Then brush some more. Physical disruption matters with established algae. You're removing materials from surfaces and exposing organisms to the sanitizer in the surrounding water. People occasionally want to bottle a product that can eliminate the brushing. I haven't found that bottle yet. During a mustard algae treatment, pay special attention to the places nobody normally wants to brush. Corners, steps, niches, ladders, and other protected areas. The easy to reach middle of the wall probably isn't where your biggest problem is hiding. Remove what you can. Here's another concept that gets overlooked. If you can physically remove algae from the swimming pool, remove it. Don't make chlorine do the work that a vacuum hose can do for free. If you have a substantial accumulation of mustard algae on the floor, allowing it to settle and then carefully vacuuming it to waste can physically remove a large amount of material from the pool. Vacuuming the waste isn't possible or practical on every pool, and you're going to lose some water doing it. But when conditions allow it, I would much rather send a pile of algae down the waistline than ask my chlorine or filter to deal with all of it. During treatment, I also want the filtration system running continuously, with the filter monitored and cleaned or backwashed as necessary. Brush it, filter it, vacuum it, remove it. We're not trying to negotiate with it. Calcium, pH, and silica. You may have heard that mustard algae likes calcium, elevated pH, and it eats silicates. There are legitimate biological reasons for discussing silica when actual diatoms are involved, because diatoms use silica to build their characteristic cell walls. Pools can also contain silicate from source water and cementitious materials. But this is an area where I don't want to turn an interesting biological relationship into an unsupported universal pool rule. I wouldn't tell someone that lowering calcium or silicates alone is going to cure mustard algae. That said, I don't like unnecessary high calcium or chronically high pH anyway. If your calcium hardness has become excessive, particularly here in North Texas where evaporation can continually concentrate calcium and other dissolved material, dilution may make sense for several reasons. And while I don't believe in chasing an unnecessarily low pH, I generally prefer keeping pools in the upper 7s rather than continually allowing them to operate above 8, especially if I'm having a mustard algae outbreak. I want lower pHs. Manage the whole environment instead of searching for one magic number. Take away some of its food. Like other algae, mustard algae needs nutrients. Phosphorus is one of them. Let's make an important distinction. Phosphates do not magically create algae. You can have phosphates in a properly sanitized swimming pool without an algae bloom. But algae can use phosphorus as a nutrient. My philosophy is still that chlorine or another appropriate sanitizer is what ultimately kills algae. Phosphate removal doesn't replace sanitation. But if I'm fighting an organism that's difficult to kill, why would I intentionally leave an unlimited buffet sitting in front of it? For years, one of my objections to aggressive phosphate removal was that some traditional treatments could create their own maintenance problems, particularly cloudy water and filtration issues. We now have PhosLocker, a skimmer-based phosphate removal media. The media binds and removes phosphates continuously with little to no clouding instead of precipitating a large amount of material into the water like many conventional liquid treatments. That's much more attractive to me. Phosphate removal still isn't an algicide. It isn't a replacement for chlorine. We're simply removing another resource algae can use. Make the neighborhood worse. You can find PhosLocker directly from phoslocker.com. Now let's talk about how do we kill the mustard algae. Once mustard algae is established, prevention isn't enough. It's time to kill it. No matter which treatment method I use, several things don't change. Brush, 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 run the filtration system continuously, vacuum and physically remove as much algae as practical, clean the filter as necessary, maintain circulation throughout the entire pool. Then we need something capable of actually killing the algae. There are several ways to approach that. Option number 1, good old-fashioned chlorine. Never underestimate chlorine. Mustard algae is chlorine resistant. It's not chlorine proof. The mistake is assuming that normal chlorine residual that prevents ordinary algae is necessarily enough to quickly eradicate an established mustard algae infestation. It may not be. I also don't like generic instructions telling every pool owner to add X pounds of shock. What's your CYA? Because that matters tremendously. Cyanuric acid protects chlorine from sunlight, but it also reduces the concentration of the most immediately active forms of chlorine. That's why I manage free chlorine in relation to CYA rather than pretending that the same free chlorine number means the same thing in every swimming pool. I generally find that getting free chlorine to roughly 15 to 20% of the CYA level is a strong practical treatment range. CYA 40 parts per million, that's approximately 6 to 8 parts per million of free chlorine. CYA 60, that's approximately 9 to 12 parts per million of free chlorine. CYA is 100, now you're talking 15 to 20 parts per million of free chlorine, which demonstrates another reason why excessively high CYA can make an algae problem much more difficult and expensive to manage. These are my practical treatment guidelines, not a substitute for product label directions or public health requirement. Maintain the elevated chlorine while excessively brushing, circulating, filtering, and removing the algae. And don't stop simply because the yellow disappeared. Gone from sight isn't necessarily gone from the pool. Option number 2, sodium bromide based yellow algae treatments. Some specialty yellow mustard algae treatments use sodium bromide. The chemistry is interesting. Sodium bromide isn't simply another bottle of chlorine. When sufficient chlorine is present, chlorine oxidizes bromide ions and produces active bromine sanitizer. And bromine can be very effective against algae. Here's the part people sometimes find confusing. The treatment needs chlorine to work, and then it can consume a tremendous amount of your chlorine. That's not a contradiction, that's the chemistry doing what it's supposed to do. Because sunlight rapidly destroys active bromine in an outdoor pool and bromine doesn't receive the same UV protection from CYA that chlorine does, I prefer performing this type of treatment when the direct sunlight is off the pool, typically in the evening. And this is absolutely not something I recommend routinely dumping into a swimming pool every week or even once a month. It's a problem-solving treatment. Use it when you need it. Follow the product directions precisely and understand that afterward you may have substantial chlorine demand and will need to reestablish the proper chlorine residual. But overuse can result in a buildup of bromine in your pool, and that is not a good thing. Option number 3, ammonium-based algicides. There are also ammonium-based yellow algae treatments. They can work, they're just not my favorite. These products can be used with chlorine as part of an aggressive algae treatment, but the resulting chemistry can create an enormous chlorine demand. That's where I start becoming concerned about the cycle. Get algae, kill algae, destroy the chlorine residual. Get algae again, kill the algae, destroy the chlorine residual. Congratulations, we're just feeding the beast. If you're using one of these products, follow the label exactly and be prepared to restore and maintain your normal free chlorine residual afterward. Killing today's algae while creating tomorrow's sanitizer deficit isn't much of a victory. Option number 4, copper algicides. Copper works. Let's not pretend it doesn't. Copper ions are toxic to algae at relatively low concentrations, and copper-based algicides can be extremely effective. The problem with copper isn't necessarily with it kills algae. The problem is what happens when you don't manage the copper afterward. Too much copper in a swimming pool can contribute to staining of plaster and other surfaces. And it's responsible for the famous chlorine turned my blonde hair green phenomenon. Usually chlorine's blamed, but chlorine didn't do it. Copper did it. If I'm considering copper-based algicide, I want to know the copper concentration before treatment and monitor it afterward and remove if necessary. Follow the manufacturer's dosing instructions. Don't decide that if 1 ounce is good, 4 ounces must be 4 times better. That's how swimming pools become chemistry experiments. Afterward, manage the residual copper appropriately and keep it as low as practical unless you're intentionally operating a manufacturer's specified mineral system. Copper can be a very useful tool. Unmanaged, copper can become your next pool problem. My secret weapon? Silver algidine. For stubborn mustard algae, one specialty product I like is silver algidine. Rather than using copper as its metal component, silver algidine uses colloidal silver. That gives me another way of attacking stubborn algae without intentionally adding copper to a pool where I may later have to worry about elevated copper concentrations. My approach is simple. Get the basic pool chemistry where it belongs. Get the chlorine residual where it belongs. Brush thoroughly. Maintain circulation and filtration. Then maybe use Phoslocker to lower the phosphate levels. Then use silver algidine according to the manufacturer's current directions. I would still avoid calling any metal-based pool treatment literally incapable of staining under any imaginable water condition. Pool chemistry has taught me not to use the word never casually, but avoiding an intentional copper addition is a significant advantage when I'm trying to eradicate algae without creating a copper management problem afterward. You can learn more or purchase it directly from silveralgidine.com. Don't forget the rest of the pool. This is one of the easiest mistakes to make. You found mustard algae on one wall, so you treat one wall. Meanwhile, you have a ladder, a cleaner, a brush, a vacuum hose, steps, light niches, skimmer throats, water features, and 20 other protected areas that haven't received nearly as much attention. Treat the pool, not just the yellow spot. Brush everywhere you reasonably can. Otherwise, you can win the battle on the north wall and discover you'll simply move the war somewhere else. After you kill it, don't give it the pull back. This is probably the most important part of this video. Killing algae is one job. Keeping it dead is another. Once the algae is gone, immediately return to proper pool management. Don't allow the chlorine residual to collapse after treatment. Maintain free chlorine relative to your CYA. Keep pH under control. Maintain good circulation. Eliminate dead spots where practical. Brush regularly. Remove debris. Maintain the filtration system. Monitor nutrients such as phosphates when appropriate. These aren't glamorous answers. Nobody gets excited when I say maintain your 5 pillars. But those 5 pillars, brushing, debris removal, circulation, filtration and turnover, and water chemistry, prevent an enormous percentage of the problems that lead people to start searching for miracle chemicals. Mustard algae is tough. It isn't invincible. That's the takeaway. Mustard algae has developed a reputation as some mysterious creature that chlorine can't kill. I don't buy that. It's chlorine resistant, not chlorine immune. The bigger problem is usually that we're trying to kill a difficult organism while continuing to provide the conditions that allow it to thrive. So change the conditions, improve circulation, brush aggressively, physically remove as much as possible, take away unnecessary nutrients, maintain appropriate chlorine concentration relative to CYA, use specialty algicides intelligently and when they're warranted, and understand those products you're putting into the water and what you're going to have to do to deal with it afterward. Don't just keep throwing products at the yellow stuff until something happens. Understand the problem, attack it from several directions, and once you finally evict mustard algae from your swimming pool, don't leave the front door open and invite it back in. I hope this helps, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow, share with somebody that may need this information. We'll see you in the next video.